Both of my parents' families, my father and mother's families, all lived in Berlin. It was in 1933 when Hitler came to power. Things got slowly worse and worse and worse for them. That was when a program started called the Kindertransport, which is like children's transport, and allow children from infants to 17 the chance to escape Nazi Germany and go to England. It was the only way in many cases that they were able to survive the war. But just think how hard it must have been for the parents, how bad things must have been that the parents were willing and anxious to put their children into this program. So what a traumatic experience for all these young kids and their families to be to be separated from their parents, not knowing if they were ever going to see them again, going to a country where they didn't speak the language, living with people they didn't know, having to go to school in a foreign country in a foreign language. Over time, I think about 10,000 children were saved because of the Kindertransport. But most of the children who were evacuated under the children's transport, most of their parents did not survive, and they never saw them again. Turned their entire worlds upside down and sent their lives on a different trajectory entirely. It was a uniquely horrible time in history.
Ted was born in Poland, in Poznan, and he was maybe 12 years old in 1939 when the Germans invaded Poland, the Anschluss. So he lived in occupied Poland, and he spent some amount of time that I'm not sure of in camps in Poland, but in 1943 he was sent to a place called Mittelbau. Dura is the name of the camp, and it was a cave complex used by the SS to manufacture primarily the V-2 rockets, alongside of German scientists and engineers, many of whom ended up in our very town and helped us later with the Saturn program. And I think that's part of Huntsville history that we need to remember. There's a dark side to the rocket program. He didn't talk a lot about his experience. When I asked him what he did at Dura, he told me he was working on V-2 rockets, and I said, what specifically did you do? And he said, I was a welder. And he winked at me and he said, I wasn't a very good one. And that was fairly common for the prisoners. If they had an opportunity to sabotage a V-2 rocket, they did. But the price was very heavy. If you were caught or suspected of sabotage, they would hang you in the cave so that all your friends could walk by you each morning as they went to work. As the Allies got closer to Dura, they evacuated the prisoners there. Ted ended up in Dachau, and that's a place that I had been when I was stationed in Germany. And so I knew what that looked like, and I had asked him a lot of questions about, he escaped. He escaped out of Dachau and walked south across the Tyrol in the Alps into Italy. And, I know the distance driving that, and I asked him, how did you do it? And, how did you walk that far? And he said, it didn't matter, I was free.
We had run into this thing like a T in the road. We'd come up this road, and all of a sudden there was nothing but this entrenchment, this encampment in front of us. Little spatially fortified area, almost as though they were making an effort to keep people out rather than worrying about keeping people in. And I think it was their experimental gas chamber. Well, I sat there for a moment when the officer tried to explore the building, maybe even explore the railroad that was sitting on the siding with a load of boxcars, sitting there. Now, the information I have is that Those boxcars were later discovered to be full of bodies, people who just died right there in the car. At that moment, my officer is just reinforcing the basic philosophy. Wherever we roll across now, it's ours. We're going to take it. We're going to secure it. So I said, sure, boss. No problem for this Sherman. We just walked through it. And I saw a stack of bodies, That was the first thing that grabbed my eyes. Here are bodies stocked like cordwood. And you say, oh my goodness, what his life brought me to. And then, looking straight forward, and here comes a body that didn't look much better, but able to approach me, walking towards me. And just as I do today, I get tired, he did. He couldn't make it that 100 yards to get to me. And he sat down on a stone. We called for our medics to come in there and take over. Did the man survive? You'd like to know. I don't.
We were considered to be Jewish. And my mother and father, they were executed. I don't know why, where, and when. Had a big armband on one side, had a whip in one hand, and a pistol on one side. Came and he told my sister for me to take my pants off, drop my pants. And I was scared. I didn't know what they were going to do. I was crying, and I know that. And I was very much afraid. But I never thought I was going to make it to 13 or 11 to 13 or 14. I couldn't comprehend. It was beyond my comprehension of my age, to have so many things that happen to a human being, in such a short time. We were in bunks. They were 3 high. And I was the smallest, so I got the top bunk, the worst one. The food, there was nothing to eat. We hadn't had anything, no food. We had very, very little, a slice of bread. The hunger, always to get something to eat. And that's the biggest pain that any human being can endure, is the pain not having anything to eat. It was survive, And I was in Dachau, so many times, people took their lives. They ran against electric fence, or they were shot while running to the electric fence. From day to day, we prayed every day, from day to day, that we shall survive the bombing, we shall survive the atrocities from the SS and the Gestapo. And I said, I will survive, no matter what. I did.
When you meet people that have been through those kinds of things, it's remarkable to me how graceful they are and at peace they are. Ted had every reason to be angry with the world, but I never heard him say ill about anyone.
Forgive, but you shall never forget. You shall never forget, but forgive. You must forgive.
And let's all be brothers in some fashion. That's the best I can give you.